Today I finally got to re-ride Scooby Doo Spooky Coaster 3.0 at Warner Bros. Movie World, due to reopen officially on the 14th of December after a long multi-year refurbishment. I was lucky enough to get 2 rides on the coaster a couple of days beforehand during its soft opening. I have a lot to say, good and bad, so let's get started. I heard on the grapevine that Scooby Doo was likely to soft open that day, which coincidentally happened on the same day King Claw at Dreamworld officially opened, so as soon as I got some free time I headed straight to the park to see if the rumours were true, and they were! The technical rehearsal signs were out and there were a lot of people waiting, but the ride had just broken down, so we waited pretty good, and after about 2 hours of waiting it finally reopened and we excitingly hurried into the queue. It was so weird being back in there. The main queue area felt really large and open and bright, but this was quickly addressed and the lights went off back to its intended spooky levels. Oh! The queue here looked great, and it was cool seeing effects working like the torches, knights in armour, and the fantastic looking fountain. As expected, the full 2002 Scooby-Doo live-action film was playing on the screens. It was a bit hard to hear though, maybe some subtitles would help. The little corridor before the station looked similar to before. The graffiti on the walls, which had been there during Next Generation, has all been removed, which is great to see. As we got into the queue immediately when it reopened, we didn't have long to wait and quickly got into the station. And wow, it looked pretty much the same, which is a good thing. Maybe a little bit lighter than it used to be, and not as loud when it comes to the spooky ambience, but still good. Rather than flooding the station with people, they only send in a few at a time. This is due to the new item storage shelves that have been added. You can leave your bags and other items here, at your own risk of course, which you collect at the end of the ride by re-entering the station through the door by the exit. I guess this makes sense, though it was a bit confusing and hectic, being surrounded by people. Not the best implementation. After that you get assigned to a car, which are the brand new modern Mark Wildmouse cars. While the cars are new, the actual gesture theming on them is actually the same as the original ride. The exteriors were just moved from the old cars to the new ones, which is great to see. I was a bit worried, they look a bit different, but no, they still look great. Now, the ride itself. As sadly they didn't allow on-ride filming, I'll have to use a mixture of old and new footage here, so forgive me for that. It was great having the door effect back at the beginning of the ride, which was yet another change that was removed in Next Generation. The next 2 scenes with Scooby and the Knights was also great, very similar to the original ride, but as I mentioned in my other preview videos, it was a lot brighter, which is either a negative or a plus depending on who you ask. I personally like it this way. Anyway, we then came to the first screen, which used to have those ugly PS2 monsters in Next Generation. This was a lot better, having some elements from the spooky castle scene in the movie with the gesture on the chandelier and the monstrous food. Screen quality wise it looked fine. Not great, not bad, just, fine. Some parts of the screens were a bit blurry in parts, and overall not as detailed as the ones in Leviathan or Wizard of Oz. I'll have to see this in person a few more times to get a more proper opinion, but either way it's 100% better than the Next Generation version. Next we head into the torture room. The spinning monster guy sadly didn't spin for us. Again, soft opening, so this is expected. The room looked pretty similar to before, aside from the new lighting, and there was also a really cool spider web in the corner which was done via projection mapping. No spider though, maybe this is to come. We then come to a new animatronic, replacing the ghoul in the original ride, and I say animatronic loosely here, as this was basically a shaking static pink demon from the film. Quality wise it didn't look great, it was like something you'd see in a cheap ghost train. I'm unsure if this is another soft opening issue, but I'll guess we'll see soon. The swinging axes were still there, such a fantastic and iconic effect. And then you come to the last scene of the Dark Ride section, which now has the Scooby animatronic in the corner here, rather than his old location by the mirror. This is thankfully back to being a proper mirror again, which is great, unlike the shoddingly implemented screen in Next Generation. Next, one of the ride's best moments, the lifts/elevators. I'm happy to say these no longer have the screens like in Next Generation. Woohoo, Scrappy's gone! It was like how it was in the original, just a nice basic plain lift with some Scooby audio playing. It still had the Scooby Doo, where are you sound effect. Again, a bit quieter than it used to be. I also noticed something was a bit wrong here. It was very dark. Usually you'd see some light coming in from the main disco roller coaster room, but it was close to being pitch black, which was really weird. The lift still felt great though. I love that tilting effect, it's really cool, and the backwards drop was fun like before. However, I also noticed something here too. It was still rough. What the heck? I thought one of the reasons the ride got new cars and some new track was to improve on the roughness, but no, it still felt similar to how it did before, maybe a little bit better, but still quite rough. More on that later, as we also have to talk about the disco room. It was dark! No lights at all, just a big, dark, warm room. I'm assuming this is another technical rehearsal hiccup, so I'll reserve judgment till the ride properly opens. But it wasn't a good impression at all. The iconic Scooby Doo song was playing as before, which was great to rehear, but again it was a lot quieter, which meant you could hear a lot of the coaster and other mechanical sounds as you went around the circuit. I know it's completely safe and meant to make those noises, but it still sounded a bit, off, almost a bit flimsy if that makes sense. The coaster circuit here was enjoyable like before, giving some really fun lateral forces. The drops were also still fun, but again, like the backwards drop, these were still quite rough and really threw us around. It actually felt like a similar roughness level to the Donkey Kong coaster at Universal. It's smooth for a bit, and then when you go down a drop it really shakes you around. I wasn't too happy here, as again I thought the roughness of the ride was going to be one of the things addressed in this new version. Also, the broken glass effect from Next Generation on the turntable was removed here, for better or worse. It was closer to worse sadly, as with the room being dark we had nothing to look at here. It felt like a little dead spot if that makes sense. Anyway, we then got to the scene before the last drop, which is now a physical screen hybrid, featuring the big tiki face and a Scooby Doo animatronic, who still has his same "escape down here, ruh-roh" line from the original ride. Like I was hoping, there was also some cool chanting sound effects, and there was a lot of cool lighting, giving the scene a really interesting look. Better than Next Generation, but overall I think the original scene was a lot better. Right as you go down the drop, you get blasted by two huge yellow lights. It almost felt like it blinded me. Seriously, I was like, what the heck was that? I wasn't expecting that at all. This really needs to be addressed, or at least fine-tuned. Again, luckily this was a soft opening, and weird stuff like this is expected. Finally, the Spooky Island scene from Next Generation is back. It looked slightly smaller, with less plants and tiki props. The TV with the light jump scare effect is also still here, though the screen is much smaller, and again the audio around it was very quiet. Upon exiting, the shack that was added for Next Generation is also back. This actually looked really good, having some cool props and lighting. There were also some little chairs here, which is great for those waiting or doing a child swap or something. You can then head through the door back to the station to get your items, which again was a bit weird and cramped. Like before, you exit through the Scooby Doo gift shop, now filled with all the brand new Scooby Doo merch. Sadly, the store itself kind of looked a bit bland here compared to how it used to be. Much less props and theming. This used to be filled with tons of stuff from the old Harry Potter attraction, but now the only survivors are the snake statues here. Oh yeah, speaking of Harry Potter props, sadly Aragog the spider was nowhere to be seen in the roller coaster room, which is a huge shame. Movie World apparently confirmed his removal, so yeah, no more Aragog sadly. So that was my first experience of Scooby Doo Spooky Coaster 3.0. During its soft opening and based on just 2 rides. How was it after nearly 3 years of waiting? To be completely honest, I was whelmed. It was just, fine. Don't get me wrong, it's great having the ride back, but I was hoping after that massive wait it would be a little bit more. Does that make sense? I know a lot of things were done behind the scenes that us riders will never notice, but still it felt like something was missing. I know it's a soft opening and things are likely to get better in the coming weeks, but I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't disappointed. And this is coming from someone who purposely curbed my expectations beforehand, especially after Wizard of Ozland. It still had its good bits, I liked what they did in the queue, the operations were fast and efficient, and the removal of the Next Generation changes was great to see. However, I didn't really like the new screens, the Demon animatronic looked a bit dodgy, the ride was still rough in places, the disco room was pitch black, and the Spooky Island scene was a lot smaller. And the finale with the blinding lights was a bit weird. Oh, I hope they fix that. I'd like to do a proper, more in-depth video after the ride's been open and has had a chance to settle in, so this was more of a quick first impressions video. Even being in an unfinished soft opening state, it's already better than Next Generation, but sadly I don't think it's going to reach the same heights as the original ride. We'll see though, you never know. Thanks for watching this video, please give it a like if you enjoyed it. And a big thank you to my YouTube members, the Ogre Bros and the Ogre Sisters, for your kind support. Thank you for watching, please consider watching another of my videos, I'll be sure to see you there. Have a great rest of your day. Ogre and out!